Hello, folks. Once again, here we are, customizing the Clone Wars. This is episode 4. Thanks for joining us. I am your host, Peak Obi-Wan, and along with me, I have my friend, Darth Daddy. How you
Hi,
doing
everybody.
tonight, sir?
Not too bad. How's everybody else going tonight?
Oh, man, it's going great. Going great. We have a great show for you, folks. Tonight, we got some feedback, actually, on some of our other shows, and we're going to make this show a little bit shorter. So what we're going to do is we're going to concentrate just on one episode, and we're going to show some customs right off the bat. So let's get into it. If you haven't seen our show yet, this is Customizing the Clone Wars, and what we do is we celebrate, we enjoy the Clone Wars animated series, and we share our customs along the way. So let's get into it. Sound good?
I'm ready.
All right. So our episode tonight is Cloak of Darkness. And you know what's cool about this episode, Brian, is that it's kind of connected with both the previous episode that we talked about last week, Bomb Bad Jedi, and it's also connected to Lair of Grievous. And you know how it's connected?
Newt Gunray.
That's right. It's a villain-centric arc, which is actually kind of cool, if you ask me. It follows him along his journey where he's kind of performing something malicious and they capture him. And we're right in the middle of that where they're kind of carting him off to basically go to the court and go to jail, get convicted for his crimes and whatnot. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to read kind of the preface again of the episode guide. That is this book here. They have little prefaces about the episode. So it says, following Newt Gunray's attempt on Padme Amidala's life, Ahsoka and Luminara Unduli escort Gunray back to Coruscant to answer for his crimes. But Count Dooku orders Asajj Ventress to attack the Jedi cruiser and free Gunray. Ahsoka and Luminara battle Ventress and her droids, unaware that there is a traitor aboard who has been bribed by Dooku to ensure Gunray's escape. So there it is.
This is also the first episode where we get introduced to the idea of a traitor being in the Republic. It happens numerous times going forward, but I think this is the first episode that we're coming across where Captain Argus, in this situation, he's the traitor. He's the first traitor that we're being introduced to from the Republic in this episode.
Right. It's like everybody can be kind of bought and sold, throughout the series, right?
Yeah, the Separatists seem to stay fairly loyal. There's, Ventress eventually goes off the reservation, but not by choice. She's basically forced out.
Yeah. So let's get into the fortune cookie for this episode. And there it is. It says, ignore your instincts at your peril. So there we go. I'm assuming that has a lot to do with Luminara being so strict like she is. What do you think about Luminara Unduli? This is the first time we actually see her.
Yeah, I would classify her as the most idealistic and by the book Jedi that we were ever introduced to on the show. If you look at the way she was with her Padawan during the Landing in Point Rain episodes.
Yes.
On Geonosis, how she made Barasafi memorize all the catacombs, every twist and turn of those catacombs she had to have stored in her memory. And I would say what I liked about this episode was it gave us what Clone Wars did best, was introducing the theme of having strong female leads in the show. And in the show, it manifested by including Luminara, Ahsoka, and Azaj Ventress. And it's like you have people complaining now about Jane Erso, and is that what her name is?
Jin,
in the new Rogue One?
Erso.
Okay,
like
Jin Erso.
Jin with a J.
Okay, all right. And then you have Rey in The Force Awakens, and people were like, there's a little, I wouldn't say it was major fan lashing out about it. But in Clone Wars, this is something that Clone Wars viewers have been used to for a long time. And one of the things we appreciated the most about the Clone Wars was having all these strong female leads.
I really enjoyed the female leads, and I think there are just some people out there that think that there wasn't enough women in the galaxy. So I think people like Dave took note of this and said, let's make sure we have great female roles in there as well. And it's great for everybody, you know, not just the fangirls, but also just for us. You know, I enjoy a lot of female characters. And
I do as well.
Yeah, we've talked about that on many episodes, just how we love customizing the females, you know, the female characters and whatnot. So
I just like that the way they write their female characters does a really good job at minimalizing chauvinistic opinions. One of the things I really liked about it was, you know, my son grew up with this as a very young boy. So because of the show, he has the perception that girls can do anything boys can do. And that's something I want my child to have.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah. All right, so let's move on. So we have the premise for the story. We're picking up Nute Gunray, and we see that they're waiting for him on this in this portion of the show. So they finally picked him up, and of course, Ahsoka's there as well. I don't know about you, but I feel like we were missing Luminara's Padawan. In this episode. Maybe they just weren't ready to put her in, or maybe they felt like maybe she wasn't essential or something, or maybe they just needed to character build on Ahsoka a little bit more, you know, since we're so early.
Be. Yeah, they don't want to detract from, you know, Ahsoka as a storyline or her character development. I mean, there was quite a bit for Ahsoka in this one. Mm-hmm. I felt, especially when you noticed her interactions with Nute Gunray specifically, where you saw a little bit of Anakin come out in her when she started threatening Nute Gunray to make him talk, and she, like
Rokarian Dirtfish.
That's what, Rokarian Dirtfish. Yeah.
What a name, right? You know that's got to be something
very Star Wars.
Terrible, very Star Wars, very Nerf herder, Nerf or like moof milker. What's a moof? I can't wait to see what a moof is and Gundarks and whatnot. We actually see Gundarks in some of the coming episodes. Man, that would be a great custom to make, right?
I have it's like a Spawn character.
Yeah.
But it's, at least in structure, skeleton wise, it is so close to the Gundark. It wouldn't need a lot to modify to make it that way.
Well, let's get on it. Let's get making that thing. So yeah, we have Ahsoka, and she threatens Nute Gunray, and I think this ruins it for Luminara, since she's so strict and everything. She's like, you're staying up here. You're not helping me on anything because you're kind of embarrassing me.
She got a timeout.
Right.
After when she pulled with Nute Gunray with the lightsaber.
Yeah. Then we also got another cool character in here, and that was what we talked about in one of our past episodes. Right now, I'm sharing the clone officer. Do you have time to share your clone officer? I know you recently either redid or took some new pictures of the clone officer that you created, and we're just going to get right down into the customs right now. So there's a clone officer leading kind of driving the ship, if you will, and wouldn't mind seeing your custom. So go ahead and share that whenever you'd like.
Sure. Here it is. Are you guys seeing it right now?
Let's see what we got here.
I'm hoping you're seeing it, but I don't know if are you?
No, I'm not seeing it.
You're not. All right. Well,
Yeah.
let me do a stop sharing, and then I just have to. I can pull up a way to do it another way. All right.
On the Google Hangouts, folks, bear with us as we go on this journey.
There okay, what about now? You are getting them now. Okay.
Totally
so all I really did to make this figure, I used the Admiral Yularen.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up just scraping the bottom 2 blocks from his rank ribbons off of his chest. There was 3 red boxes at the top, so I just painted the last one blue. I used the heavy head. I just felt like the paint apps, or I don't know if it was the angles on the face. I just felt like it worked the best with that Yularen body. I think it's also maybe because the face is a little more narrow than some of the other clone heads.
Nice. Did you have to modify that neck at all? What did you do to get that head on the body?
I just used the glue gun. I just squirted a little bit of glue from the glue gun, and while it was still hot, I just jammed it up on the peg. And the nice thing is, if you move it once the glue gun, once the glue is in position where you want it, you don't have to worry about that head getting stuck to the neck. And you can shake that figure upside down, and the head won't come off, and you could still articulate it in all the ways you could your normal figure.
So you're saying the hot glue kind of moves it around and molds kind of a new shape to it.
Yeah, because it creates a filler, so it fits the head peg exactly how you want it to fit.
Wow, that's a great tip. Excellent. All right. Well, we will move on. Thanks for sharing that awesome custom.
No problem at all.
It's funny that we saw this guy driving the ship, and there's like a bunch of them. If you're looking at the picture that I'm showing now, there's just the same guy all throughout the ship, just down controlling different operations in the ship and whatnot. And I thought that was kind of cool. They used that same asset of that clone trooper. Still have yet to see the Imperial hat come on to the.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah, I kind of want to. One of these days, I want to paint one of them white so that way you get the medical version of the clone.
Oh, the medical one would be so cool. Yeah, and we'll get to him at some point for sure. But I'm going to share this next picture, and this is the hunter pod, or the what did they call it?
I think it was the pod hunter in the Plo Koon Wolfpack episodes.
Mm-hmm.
After they destroyed that, was that Rising Malevolence?
Right.
Was that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now they're calling them boarding ships in this episode, but it's the same asset. It's just using that asset in a different way. And this one, when it's a boarding ship, it's coming in closed. Where in Rising Malevolence, it was open, latching onto the pod and then crushing it and closing on it. But same exact asset used in a different way.
Yeah, and it was kind of like it just crashed right into the ship, and it opened up and just dropped a bunch of super battle droids into the ship. That way they can get in there. And one of the great things I liked about this episode was Ventress, and I'll get to my my custom whip here in a second. She didn't necessarily sneak onto the ship, but these troopers were a diversion. And once she's on the ship, and there she is right there. I'm sharing a picture of her. She felt that maybe this was her last chance, because she goes, to Dooku, and he's like, "You can't make another mistake." Already, they're trying to get her out. Like in the first season, they're trying to get her out because.
So the mistake they're referring to, I would assume, was the ambush, that Yoda arc or that Yoda episode on Toydaria,
or even the movie too. I mean, maybe both.
Yeah,
of those
that could
were
be
failures.
Wow. True.
If you think about it, you go back all the way back to the movie. She's on Teth and she's battling Obi-Wan, and he goes and he fights with her. totally breaks her sword in the center. I don't know if you noticed that, but we don't really ever see her use the double-bladed version, like the Darth Maul-esque version of the lightsaber, uh, for quite some time. We don't see it again until season 5 when she's got a whole new outfit. But they're definitely trying to, say this is your last chance. If you don't get this right, you're out of here. And she certainly succeeds, I guess, doesn't she?
Yeah, I mean, they can't completely put the theatrical release shortcomings on Ventress completely, because Dooku failed too in that, just as much.
Yeah, but I think what was happening, he was getting attached, and I could tell.
Exactly. That's
sensing
probably the most driving factor.
For sure. Yeah. So I'm going to take this time right now to show my whip, or what we call a work in progress, of this Ventress for this episode. And one of the cool things that happens, and I'll share some pictures here in a minute. Before I do that, I would just like to, hopefully you can see that. I'll lift it up there. And what I'm trying to achieve here is just more of a range of motion for Ventress, where she can do the splits, and she has actually articulated elbows, so she can have her own range, a better range of motion. She can actually have the gauntlet on the side there. I don't know if you can see it, and I can actually remove that from the arm and everything, and I kept those are Aura Sing arms. And it actually looks cool with the bigger hands. She looks more menacing with those kind of witchy hands and whatnot. But that's just kind of a work in progress that I'm kind of doing for Ventress. It's funny, we got Ventress so many times, we really didn't get any other versions of her.
That was the only one.
Yeah,
we both have messed around, and we have diverged from that and made our own Ventresses and stuff, but right. It would have been nice to have had a few more.
Yeah, she was such a great character, man. I'll tell you.
She was I would say she was probably in my top 3 favorite characters on the show.
Yeah, I guess did you suspect that she was going to go to the good side, or not, more to a neutral side? Did you expect that?
No, I didn't really see that coming. That was a big shock in the show.
I think she was like one of the best, well drawn out characters the whole series, for sure.
One of the best written, for sure. That was Katie Lucas that did a lot of her story.
Man, I think she's great. Katie Lucas, I think she writes some great episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So here we are,
able to bring Maul back after being cut in half.
Oh man,
do it successfully.
Yeah,
he speaks volumes.
He's still going. What is going to become of Maul? I keep asking that question over and over again, and I guess we'll see. Maybe his end comes early in season 3, or maybe it won't even come early. Maybe they'll get him in a new theatrical release of some sort.
Maybe he'll be part of that Kenobi trilogy they're talking about.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That would.
Yeah, but let's get back to the episode. Like I said, folks, we're going to try to use some of our feedback, and we're going to try to make this a little bit shorter. So don't be alarmed when we say, "Oh, we're all done." We're gonna try to make it as exciting as possible for you guys. So what I have here, I'm just showing. We're kind of going through the episode. Ventress is on there, and this is where it kind of gets dark. If you notice, there's smoke coming out of the helmet. She must have literally cut the guy's head off, because there's smoke like cauterizing from the neck. Don't you think?
Yeah, definitely one of the most violent deaths we caught on the show so far.
I guess, yeah. Or one of the first times we're really seeing troopers kind of get mauled, for a
dismembered.
Lack of better. Yeah. Okay, so here she is. She's happy that all this transpired, and she sees his gauntlet, and they're trying to talk to this guy or communicate with him. So she decides to take the gauntlet. I don't know if you noticed that on my whip. that I had there. I'm actually putting that gauntlet on her arm where she can have it there. And it was funny because we noticed throughout the episode that it would disappear, right?
Oh, it was on and off every couple minutes. Like she'd be coming in with the lightsabers, and you'd see like two bandaged arms, and then maybe Luminar would like try to defend herself, and then they showed Ventress again, and the gauntlet would be there, and it'd be like this little bracelet on her wrist.
Bring in the animation team to do the gauntlet.
It almost seemed like there was two different teams.
Yeah,
that were like working on different parts of the same exact sequence, and one of the teams didn't have the gauntlet, and the other animation team did have it there, but they had to like use footage from both and cut back and forth, and this gauntlet keeps appearing and reappearing. Like she cuts out of the ceiling, she comes down, and I don't think she has it. But by the time she gets to the prison door, she opens the prison door, and then it's on her arm. And then she starts fighting Ahsoka in the hallway. And during that fight in the hallway, there's times where she has the gauntlet on, and there's times that she doesn't have it on.
Yeah.
But it's one of the first. I guess there was a few little kinks or animated errors, and that's one of the sequences. All the sequences that have Ventress in these episodes are the ones where you're seeing that error.
Right.
That ended up making it to the final print.
You see something new every time, don't you? There's always something you can find, or
Yeah, I had never noticed it. I always just paid attention to the story, and as I was watching the episode for tonight, for this filming, that was the first time. I've seen that episode millions of times. That was the first time I ever noticed that gauntlet kept appearing and disappearing and reappearing.
Right. Yeah, it's real funny like that. But this is a great episode. The war, or the continuation of the Clone Wars, literally takes place on this ship, kind of hearkening back to what I honestly, it feels like episode 4. Where they're on the Tantive 4. And these droids come down, and they have to what did they say? They have to defend against it or repel them or something like that. But as we go and they're on the ship, we see this droid, and that's going to go into my next custom. This is 327T, and he's a Treadwell droid, and that's Ventress kind of toying with this really nitwit droid. She's referred to as an assassin in this episode, like she's a ninja or she's just on a special mission, and she just kind of jumps around him, and you can kind of see her jumping around, and he doesn't see anything, and he's on duty, like checking the engine room or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my version of him. I have my one shot that I'd like to show real fast, and that is right here. So this is my one shot that I do on my Peak Obi-Wan Facebook page. So I just do one picture of everything because I've been doing so many customs, and I actually have the live version here too. Nobody really sees this. If you look at these pins, I made it so the arms are articulated at least in 2 places. Doesn't have a super robot range of motion, but here, let me, what I can do is I can actually hold it up, and there he is, 327T, and he's got that range of motion in the arms that I was talking about. Not exactly the perfect arms for it, but I sure like how he turned out. I just modified the Treadwell droid that came with Baru from the original Star Wars. So there we have 327T. Got to make everybody, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a cool scene too, because I guess at one point the clone trooper was referring or talking to 327T, and he called him 327, and he left the T designation off, and one of the other trooper that was with him had commented that droids don't like being called by their nickname. So that was a cool little piece of information that you got from this episode, was that I guess droids have a preference on how to be referred to, and they don't like abbreviations when it comes to their names.
I hear you. Yeah, it just how do they know how to speak robot language? Ray knows how to do it. Who else does? Ahsoka. Everybody knows
Anakin.
how to. Yeah, Anakin. They know how to speak robot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on a little bit, and then we get to further along in the episode, and we see Argaius here. I'm gonna share Argaius again real fast. Did we talk about him? Man, his hair, he gives Wolverine a run for his money, doesn't he? You can tell there's like a little flip in his hair. Like they almost look like devil horns, And this
I could probably do that with my hair right now with a little bit of hairspray.
Yeah, and he was so cool. That was a great figure. They didn't really pull off that hair very good, but he sure was a really cool.
They minimized the hair. It wasn't as exaggerated because it had to fit that removable helmet that came with it.
At least the helmet came off, right? That was in their glory days, their ultimate.
They actually. I was surprised that they put out so many versions of that character, because remember they also had 2 helmeted versions that didn't have a removable helmet. There was one, I guess, that had like the special paint, and then one that had just like a less complicated paint scheme.
Right. Those were the ones that were actually with him on the ship.
They came in maybe a 2-pack or something.
Yeah, and those characters are actually called Senate Commandos.
Senate guards.
They're actually called Senate Commandos, and they're actually pretty interesting. Oh, you got a friend sneaking up there behind you.
The dishes are done.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, so here we are in the episode, and it gets down to the point where Luminar doesn't really trust Ahsoka. She fights Ventress herself, and she gets into trouble, and then eventually she needs the help of Ahsoka. And then once they are fighting her, battling her, they're able to succeed. But there was a greater mission here that maybe they weren't aware of, maybe the Jedis weren't aware of. And what was that? What was the...
Well, the mission, I guess, was to get Nute Gunray off the ship and back into Separatist hands. Ventress, originally we thought, it was funny, there was times where Nute Gunray looked like he was getting out of there, and then he was recaptured, and then he was out of there. And, it was this episode, things were kind of going back and forth where it seemed like the Separatists had the upper hand, and other times it seemed like, oh no, the Republic put a stop to the Separatists before they could, get her out of there. But, eventually, where you think the main objective is for Ventress to get him out of there, they had an ace in the hole the whole time. Argus had taken a payment from Dooku to bust Gunray out, and at that point, Ventress was just a distraction.
Yeah, I think she had to off him in the end, because if she let him take the credit for it, that maybe she still wouldn't look good. So, spoiler alert:
good men tell no tales.
Yeah, she offed him at the end because she was just ready to be done with the whole mission, and for the most part, she succeeded. So that is that episode. We had fun sharing our customs. We are looking forward to the next episode, and that's the final version, or the final episode of the Nute Gunray centric arc, and that is Lair of Grievous. And we'll be showing a whole bunch of great customs for that episode. It has Kit Fisto in it for the first time, and we'll do that next time. But that is our show. I am Peak Obi-Wan, and you can find me at Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations on Facebook, and Clone Wars Custom Figures on Facebook also. Where can we find you, Brian?
You can find me at customsforthekids.blogspot.com. In there, you'll find links to our pages over at Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, you name it. It's all in the sidebar at the right. Just as you scroll
Everywhere.
down. Yeah,
everywhere for you.
Mass exposure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so you can find us there, and may the force be with you.
All right, see you later, guys.